Here to tell us what it takes to feed the world, a global leader in integrated field sciences from Corteva Agriscience, please welcome Wendy Srnic.
Thank you. I'm Wendy Srnic. I'm a global leader for the Integrated Field Science Group at Corteva Agriscience. You probably visited our booth here, but what you may not know about Corteva Agriscience is we're only 5 months old. Can you believe that? Only 5 months ago, we completed our merger between 3 former companies: Dow AgriSciences, DuPont Crop Protection, and Pioneer Hybrid. And it's been an amazing journey. I'm really excited to be here today with you. The energy in this room is phenomenal. And I'm really excited to tell you why everything is on the table today. But more importantly, I'm excited to be here because I'm also a very proud FFA alumna myself. It's my pleasure to be here with you again today. It feels like only yesterday was when I was in your shoes, sitting at this very convention, although in those days it was in Kansas City, being inspired by leaders, being inspired about what I could do to make a difference in the world. It seems like only yesterday when I was in your seats thinking about my SAE project, about how I would raise cattle to put myself through college education. It seems like only yesterday when I was challenging myself to face my greatest fears, extemporaneous speaking, and actually placed at the state level. It seems like only yesterday when I challenged myself and my friends to run for state office and was elected as a Michigan FFA reporter. And it seems like only yesterday when I was attending this conference and received the American FFA degree, the greatest honor that this organization bestows. It was actually a little bit longer than yesterday. It was 30 years to be exact. 30 years ago, in 1989, at this very convention was a milestone convention. That was the year that they changed the name from FFA, from Future Farmers of America, to the National FFA organization. So a lot has happened since that time. But one thing that hasn't changed is really the passion that I have and that all of you have for food and agriculture. For me, it started out growing up on a farm. My earliest memories were with my father in the tractor and the combine, and with my mother in the garden. I've always loved to get my hands and my feet dirty. As I grew up and went to school, I knew I wanted to do something in agriculture, and after joining the FFA, I found my home. I was always curious about the world and studied in college, studied crop and soil science to understand how the science behind agriculture works. As a state officer, I had the opportunity to go abroad to see agriculture with other state officers in Europe. When I saw that, how agriculture works in an entirely different continent, and how different yet how similar that is to how we do agriculture in the US, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to travel the world and experience agriculture. So I did. During my undergraduate years, I spent 2 summers working in Siberia on a state farm, learning about agriculture in a very different climate. Then after I finished undergraduate, I went on to graduate school to study crop and soil science and did a master's and PhD. After I was finally done with all that, I started my dream, which was to actually move and live in a different country and impact agriculture. I moved to Europe and spent 7 years in Europe between the UK and Italy, working in global agricultural companies, shaping the future of agriculture. Then I settled down, got married, and now I have 4 children. Right now, I work for Corteva Agriscience. I lead a group of very passionate scientists. It's a global group, and this group actually characterizes all of the new biotech traits we have, the new crop protection actives, and makes sure that they're working in the locations for the farms that we're intending them to be marketing. But the best part of my job, the favorite part, is that I do get to travel. I have scientists in over 70 different countries, and as I go to travel and visit them, I get firsthand to see how agriculture is done in different parts of the world. So I know we're all sitting here today in this very amazing high-tech auditorium, and a lot of you probably have a smartphone in your pocket, just like my 15-year-old son, but I want to take you to a very different place first. My Thanksgiving table, my family's Thanksgiving table. As you look at this picture, there's a lot of elements here that look a lot like yours. There's lots of food, lots of family, some friends. There's a friendly balance between passing the dish to the person next to you and reaching across the table to grab that brownie that you really want. But there's so much more at this table as it stands with food. My extended family, who you can see here today, is really a snapshot of America as it stands with food today. My immediate family, who you saw some of the pictures of earlier, we love agriculture and we love to garden. We love to grow our own food. But like a lot of you, we live in the suburbs, and so we're pretty limited with the land that we have available to do that. And so although we do grow some things, we end up buying most of our food from the grocery store. My brother's family, he and his wife work both full-time and have 4 children, 2 of them who have food allergies. So they spend their time looking meticulously for food at health stores and at grocery stores, reading the label to make sure that the food doesn't contain any ingredients that their children are allergic to. And my sister and I obviously both grew up in the same household on the same farm, but we took very different lifestyles and paths. We both love agriculture. And as I started my career in a global company working at a global level for agriculture, she decided to settle down in North Carolina and start her own organic farm. So her and her husband and their 6 children are self-sufficient. They are subsistence farmers in the most essential way. They grow everything that they eat. They buy nothing. And when they have excess food, they take it to their farmer's market in town and sell it. So she and her family have made a very different choice than both myself and my brother. But when we get together for Thanksgiving, we all enjoy our time together. So the cow that you saw really in this picture is the source of milk that you see in the jug there. And the most important thing when we're all together at Thanksgiving is that we are together. We love each other and we love agriculture, and we love to talk about our different lifestyles and how we view the world as it comes to food and agriculture. So our different perspectives only enrichen that conversation. And that's a lot like the food industry today. There's a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different viewpoints, but they're all sitting there together at the table. They're all interdependent and all must work together. It's why at Corteva we've adopted the mantra, if you're in food, you're in agriculture. And if you're in agriculture, you're in food. Quite simply, this means that food and agriculture are at the table together all the time. So I'm not saying that we need to rebrand FFA as the future foodies of America, but what I am saying is that those of us who work in agriculture must understand that we're the beginning of an ecosystem. We're the beginning of bringing food that consumers need and trust to their tables. And at the very beginning of this process is the simple but the complex seed. The seed going into the ground at the beginning of the season. The seed that the farmer meticulously purchases, and the seed going into the ground is a seed of hope. It's a seed of hope of what that year will bring, what kind of crop that's going to be at the end of the year. But it's also a commitment. It's a commitment that the farmer makes or that a gardener makes at the beginning of the season, putting that into the ground, that they are going to take care of that crop, that they're going to take care of that plant as it's growing and protect it from all of the diseases, the insects, the weeds, the drought, everything that's threatening its mere existence. It's a commitment to that crop. So, and at the end of the season, to harvest it and bring it to either their families or to the communities where they produce. So let's go back to the Thanksgiving table. What makes for a great guest? First and foremost, a great guest is a great storyteller. So we all know someone who can keep us at the edge of our seats, listening to the story that they're telling, wondering what happens next. Or someone who can literally make us fall off the chair with the joke that they just told. We need all of you to be storytellers about agriculture. All of you have a story, but here's the secret. Don't just talk about the what and the how of agriculture. Start with the why of agriculture. It's so easy to explain the projects that you do in FFA, who you work with, what's your SAE, what you want to do after you graduate from high school. And that's all great, but when you start with the why, you explain more than just the facts. You share your values, and that's what makes a great storyteller. It can be hard for most of us to realize, but most Americans are 3 generations removed from the farm. 98% of us, and I would venture to say the majority of you probably didn't grow up on a farm. The people that we talk to about food and agriculture are not directly working in food and agriculture. And that's why we need to start with the why when we talk about agriculture. At Corteva, we hope to help consumers understand how their food is produced and why we need to produce food. But when we talk about it, we start with the why. Why is increasing yield so important? Why do farmers need to use crop protection products? Why can't they just all go organic? Why is technology so important in agriculture now? And we have to put the answers in their context. Since most of them aren't immediately familiar with agriculture, we have to come from their perspective. Why is increasing yield so important? Because we need to feed nearly 9 billion people in your lifetime. And not only do we need to feed them, but we need to feed them healthier food. Our high oils, or our soybean varieties, have taken out trans fats and saturated fats from diets, which both help reduce heart disease and prevent type 2 diabetes. We've actually doubled the yield of North America corn over the last 70 years using technology. Why do farmers need to use crop protection products? As we grow lots of food, we need to protect the crops against the diseases, the insects, and the weeds that threaten their mere existence. And to do this, we need to use both natural and, in some cases, synthetic chemistry. As we grow healthy food for our customers, they appreciate the work that we do. Crops, or weeds, diseases, and insects cause billions of dollars of crop loss in a year, and most of that is translated to waste in the field, harvest that's not even taken out of the field. Pure and simply, that's food waste. Why is technology so important in agriculture? It helps our growers to be better stewards of the land. The land that growers have is their most prized asset. They likely inherited that land from their family, and they intend to pass it down to their next generation. The tools that we have now for data, for using precision agriculture, precision planting, precision application, and also looking at GPS and using data to analyze and predict what's going to happen on their farm, help them make better management decisions and be better stewards for their farms. Also, they help us tell stories about how and where the food that our consumers are eating was produced. So, FFA members, what is your why? Why do you belong to FFA? Why do you care about agriculture? Why do you think you can make a difference in agriculture today? Start the conversation there, and then the how and the what will just flow. The second great quality of a guest at a table is their ability to listen. We used to talk about food and agriculture being a value chain. And in a value chain, you just need to talk to the person in the part of the chain before you and after you. But today, we're in an ecosystem. Consumers want to know the name of the cow that produced the milk that's on the cheeseburger that they're eating. And farmers want to know that this new trend in food is a true enduring change and not just a fad before they change how they farm. The main difference between being in a value chain and in an ecosystem is that in an ecosystem, you need to listen to everyone, not just the person upstream and downstream of you. But the hardest thing about listening is not to judge. People who are different aren't wrong, they just have a different perspective. My sister and I are different. We both have a role to play in agriculture, and that's a good thing. This is why we do open innovation at Corteva. We look around to find the best ideas. We don't just look internally and think that we have those best ideas, but we look outside. We look at our consumers, our customers, new startups, farmers, and anyone who simply wants to make an impact in agriculture are all part of the equation. And this has brought some amazing innovations. Yield and yield stability corn that we can produce that can use nitrogen more efficiently and have a stable yield independent of what kind of year and what kind of location it is. Also, looking for new fungicides that can actually control, bio-based fungicides that control diseases like black sigatoka that are threatening to wipe out our banana crops. And also develop new biotechnology traits to protect against insects and diseases for our Latin America soybean farmers. And not only do we look for people for new ideas, we look for Mother Nature too. Mother Nature is actually one of the best innovators in agriculture. She is agriculture. So we look at Mother Nature. Some of our newest advances in our natural products and our naturally derived products are coming from nature. Ferns, insect leads from fern plants. Do you see many insects feeding on ferns? No, great place to look. So the other thing about tables is there's all kinds of tables in the world, and they all have the same purpose. So whether you sit on the floor and eat outside as you would in India, or whether you're enjoying a burger with your friends at your high school cafeteria, or turkey at your grandma's house for Thanksgiving, all tables matter. And great food, great guests, and great conversation come from them all. And because all tables matter, at Corteva we work both locally and globally. We work locally with our farmers to understand how their farming works in their countries. But then we're able to use our global innovation capability and infrastructure to bring solutions to the local level. Think locally, act globally. 27 days from now, my friends, is a big day in the US. Anybody know what it is? Thanksgiving. This is the ultimate day for being a guest at the table. So my fellow FFA members, here's my challenge for you. At this Thanksgiving season, as you go to have your meal, be the perfect guest. Be the storyteller who explains why. Be the listener who's looking for something new, some new aspect, something new in that conversation. And then as you come back after Thanksgiving to your chapters, think about what you heard. What are you going to do differently? Will you bring a different speaker into your chapter? Will you take a different class? What will you do differently to keep agriculture moving forward? Tables come in all shapes and sizes, just like today's farms, and come in different shapes and sizes. But there's always room at the table for those of us who want to help and to work in agriculture. So enjoy your next meal. Look at the food you're eating and think about it. Where did it come from? How was it produced? And how did it get to your farm or to your plate? But most of all, start with the why. Why we need to keep working together. Why we need all viewpoints at the table. And why, in fact, everything is on the table. Bon appetit. I'm not sure if we have any time for questions. Maybe one question? Okay, well, thank you all. It's been a pleasure being with you today. After so many years, it's great to come back to FFA. It's actually doubled in size since I was here, so well done. It's great to see this vibrant organization flourishing. And the skills you're developing here will set you up for amazing careers in the future. So think big, dream big, and go do it.
Ms. Srnic, thank you so much for introducing us to our why and having us focus on our next meal, but not just the meal, and actually thinking about what is on the table. I'm sure all of us here have been fascinated about how we can change our mentalities and think about the whys of things. As a gift, actually, we've got a cutting board. This was made by one of our FFA members, Mr. Coy Kroll from the Mount Carmel chapter in Illinois. That was actually part of his FFA internship. We hope you enjoy it.
Oh, thank you so much. I will get a lot of use out of this, cutting up our vegetables from our garden. Thank you.